Welcome to another episode of Data Gurus. This is Sima Vasa, your host, and I'm so excited to welcome Tim Wragg, who is the CEO of Human8. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Thank you. You've been in the position at Human8 for how long now?
Oh, I've just made a year, so that's
Woohoo!
good. Yeah, just over. It's
That's
been a busy year.
that's fantastic. And I know, I think at one of the CEO summits that we had, Camille was very um, vocal about succession planning and making sure that you have your ducks in a row. And it
Yeah.
sounds like she was very organized in doing that
She
when she
was
brought you in.
she was super organized and fantastically supportive on the handover actually, which made my life a lot easier.
It's a huge, it's a make or break process, right? In some ways, depending on how you transition in.
It can be, and she was very honest. I think candid in
Yeah.
the evaluation, what the challenges were, what needed to be done, and it just saves a lot of
Yeah.
time faffing around basically, which
Yeah.
you can
Guessing
do
and yeah.
without when you first start because 'cause you've got enough
Yeah.
stuff to take on board.
Um, Before we dive into like specifically Human8 and what the company does, I'd just love if you could share a little bit about your background as to how you got to this point.
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of ask people, "How did you end up in this industry?" Because everybody has a quite different
Story.
story.
Yeah.
It's like, "I
Yeah.
don't know. What
I know.
happened? What did happen?
You
How
woke
did
up
I end
one
up
day.
here?" Yeah, I woke up one day. But I mean, I was at business school in London, and actually I went into corporate recovery services with a business called Anderson's, and I didn't like it. And so I actually went to do a PhD in behavioral science, again, a business
Nice.
school in the marketing
Yeah.
department, and that kind of led me into this industry, and I have to say, it's been fantastic. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been a brilliant industry full of personalities, change every year. It's always
Yep.
something new, never bored. I've tended to work with larger companies actually. So
Mhm.
when I came into the industry, I went into a WPP agency. Then I went to work in planning at American Express. Then I went back to a WPP agency within Kantar.
Yeah.
Then went to work at sort of a Omnicom within the brand consulting group, and then kind of came to Human8, which is actually a much smaller business. It's a
Smaller. Yeah.
mid-sized international business. And to be fair, that took a little bit of adjusting to.
Short.
It
Yeah.
it
I bet.
really did. It really did.
Yeah. What was the biggest adjustment you had to make in that transition from going to these large conglomerates to going to Human8?
Yeah, I mean, I I had a lot of people to do stuff for me in
Yeah.
the bigger company. They were just
Gosh.
larger.
Yeah.
I was running the kind of insights analytics business for Kantar in North America, or previously CEO of Mill Brown,
Yeah.
Europe, and you have like thousands of people. So
And
actually,
people. Yeah.
when you have a special project, that you can put people against it,
Yeah.
and you have like a team of people who stop you from being an idiot, which is really
Yes.
helpful and
Very helpful.
appreciated. So all of a sudden, I've got
Yeah.
to stand on my own 2 feet again and make stuff
Yeah.
happen and organize. So that's actually quite an adjustment actually. It's a bit
Yeah.
scrappier, which I don't mind actually. It's making me think a bit differently.
Do you find you have to go deeper in terms of rolling up your sleeves and thinking through outcomes, or is it,
Yeah,
just
I
to
mean,
keep
I
working?
to be
Yeah.
fair, I've always been interested in strategy and planning and then how to actually activate that. Now, I would be lying if I didn't say I have a fantastic chief operating officer who's worked with me for many years and moved from me from Kantar into
Yep.
Horton Partners at Omnicom and then here as well. So we get on very well. He understands strategy and how to make
Yep.
stuff happen, and totally respect what he does and brings some of the strategic thinking. So he's definitely a brilliant help for me.
That's awesome. Those relationships are so valuable that you build
They
over
are.
time, and
They
when
are.
you move one place to another that, you kind of jump together in some ways or transition over time, it just
It's
makes work so much easier.
it really does. I mean, I had a boss many moons ago who was from McKinsey, and
Mm,
he was so good at networking.
yeah,
I mean, and I'd been, I would say, fairly blasé
right.
about networking. Oh, you know,
Yeah.
what's important about that? I
Do I
mean,
need
come
to
on,
socialize?
do I
Right,
need to
exactly.
do that? Is that important to my career? He was great, and he
Yeah.
really, I learnt a lot from him vicariously just by looking at how he did it,
So he operates. Yep.
what emphasis he put on it.
Mhm.
And honestly, now I think I would recommend everybody in their career, no matter
Mm.
how, you can't start too soon, start
Yeah.
straight away because right now, I mean, most of our new business is
Mhm.
one from people's networks, actually.
Relationships. Yep.
Relationships, clients who move to a different brand, different company, different department.
Yes.
And I mean, you talked about pipelining earlier. You
Right.
pipeline through your network,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so again, you can't underestimate how vital it is.
Mhm.
So I learn a lot. I learn a lot and
That's
really
amazing.
appreciate it and picked up that
Yeah.
lesson.
It's so in this world of AI and technology, there's this thing called trust that comes from personal relationships that still
Totally
is
right.
critically important, right? It's not just speeds and feeds and
I think that's
agility, there's that relationship.
I think that's 100% right. And when you
Mm.
think about what is going to set you apart as a professional in the
Yeah.
future when there is so much AI, it is absolutely
Right.
your ability to develop trusting relationships and contacts and those networks. And to be fair, I'm a little bit concerned about the role of digital devices,
Mm.
online, hybrid working, or just remote working.
Yeah.
There is I think everything's become a little bit more transactional, a little bit
Yeah.
more superficial, harder to really build trust, uh,
Mhm.
actually harder to learn vicariously. Again, if I
Mhm.
look back and reflect on my career, I learned so much just by listening to people, just watching people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it's just got a bit more transactional. And I think people aren't learning those skills, but those are the skills that are going to be even more important when you've got
Important.
machines doing a lot of those lower
Yes.
level tasks. So I think
Yeah.
that's something the industry needs to think about.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let's just um can you give just an overview of Human8 and what specifically it focuses on and
Yeah.
its purpose in the world?
Books in the world. I mean, it's got a great history, actually. I mean, it started up in 1997 out of Lyric Business School. Four super smart founders wanted to do something in digital marketing. That was where everything was going. Let's start a digital marketing business. And I think they first started looking at website performance
Yep.
evaluation, essentially. And from that, um, continued to focus on digital, then went into communities, I think about
Mhm.
2007,
Mm.
2009 maybe. And from there, built up an amazing business. And
Mm.
that what was important to them always was the person, the human.
Yeah.
Absolutely innovation, thought leadership. And I would say they were very workshoppy and kind of consultancy oriented. And I think they really wanted to build off that and pursue that and went on a buy and build tear in
Mm.
2017. Built up a really strong international footprint out of Belgium, out of Europe. And we're now kind of 25%, roughly 25%
Mhm.
US, 50% Europe, 25% APAC. And the heart of the business is very much on Human8. I mean, we developed
Yeah.
well, Camille actually developed, you mentioned Camille
Yeah.
earlier, helped develop the Human8 brand in kind of mid
Mm.
23. And it was very much about focusing on the person, how people make
Mhm.
decisions, how they fit within the culture and communities, and how you can get the human spark
Amen.
integrated into the brand to help
I love
create
that.
differentiation.
Yeah.
So I think we've stayed really true to our roots, and that's absolutely
Mhm.
what we're intending to do moving forwards, albeit enabled by AI. Because I
Yeah.
think everybody's got to be able to use the power of AI and harness the power of AI. But we're definitely going to be approaching it from a very human angle about empowering human beings. And we are on a bit of a mission. I mean, I think there's a sense. I mean, I've been in quite a few different countries catching up with senior
Yeah.
marketeers and various clients, different
Right.
departments. And I think there is a bit of a concern about kind of, I mean, I'll use it in a pejorative, but it's kind of AI slop, blandification of brands and around brands.
Yeah.
And the, you know, really what generates growth ultimately is standing out and
Mhm.
being distinct and differentiated and connecting with people.
Right.
And the best way to do that is to really empathize, understand, and build insights into your
Yeah.
campaigns, into your products, into your innovations, and so on and so on. So I think we're on a mission to make sure that
Mhm.
that human spark, those human insights, really do get embedded in those strategies, the top of the kind of the top of the funnel kind of exercises, and just we don't lose that
Right.
as we drive into more and more performance marketing and adoption of AI, which is vital. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to do that to be competitive for sure.
Competitive. Yeah.
But actually, it's far better doing it in a
Yeah.
human-led way. So that's
Yeah.
kind of our mission, if you like.
I love it. I love it. And I know, Tim, you've spent a good amount of time over the last, I don't know, 6 to 8 months talking to different leaders, as you mentioned. And I'm fascinated by your perspective on what's going on in APAC compared to kind of our perception of the industry here in the US. And I don't know if you'd include Europe in that, but I was fascinated by understanding your perspective there, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when everything moved from west to east. People
Yes.
we would, brands would move west to
Right.
east. They were high quality,
Mhm.
s- you know, good, well sold, well marketed, good brand building, and I think we had the ability to bring something new to the whole of
Mhm.
the East. And of course, along with trying to sell stuff out East, we exported a lot of people, the expats.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd say all the innovations and high quality thinking flowing definitely west to east. And,
Mhm.
I think that is pretty balanced now. I see as many things
Mm.
coming from east to west, and
The
I
reverse.
think that is a
Yeah.
genuine shift. And
Isn't that interesting?
people are
Yeah.
looking to sell in the west as well. So I was in China not so long ago, and it was actually the first time I'd been since COVID,
Mhm.
and I was quite blown away by how brands were using retail space to create experiences, like immersive experiences. And they were
Yeah.
using retail space so well and effectively and boldly. I mean, they're chucking
Yeah.
money at it out of the media budgets.
Mm.
And that's really good thinking. And that's not widely done, I'd say, kind of certainly not in Europe and certainly not that much in the West. But it wouldn't be like a permanent fixture. It would be like a temporary campaign that they would
Right.
just create these immersive experiences. And I'd say within our own business, we've just rolled out a new client engagement model, way of working
Mm.
with clients. It was developed in Hong Kong, and
Interesting.
we rolled it out worldwide.
Wow.
And there is no way that I could imagine that happening probably even 10 years ago, to be honest.
Yeah. Totally
Um,
different.
totally different,
Yep.
and adopted and received. So it didn't
Right.
have the kind of not invented here,
Resistance.
which
Yes.
again, I think, I don't again, I want to overstate it, but I think there was a certain hubris, arrogance
Mhm.
maybe of what does the East got to teach us?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I honestly think the answer is quite a lot now. And if you look at the kind
Yeah.
of the biggest ad agency in China, I think it's Blue Focus, AI
Mhm.
led, tech led.
Mhm.
And to be honest, there's only really brand tech in the
Mm.
West that look similar,
Yeah.
and
Interesting.
they're aggressive, they're very tech
Yeah.
oriented, and they've always had that philosophy of, I mean, I would say performance marketing. I mean, they were performance marketers before there was performance marketing because
Yeah.
everything was, will it help me sell? It's just sell, 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 sell,
Right.
sell.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
going to help
Yeah.
me sell?
Yeah.
If it's not going to help me
Yeah.
sell, why am I doing that? I
Forget
don't
it.
want to do that.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think also a lot of companies are kind of struggling with ensuring that they're delivering shareholder value, right? As they try to build for the future, invest in brand and experience and still balance quarter to quarter earnings that sometimes then zaps those creative ideas and investment into the future.
I I
It's
absolutely
a
think
it's a
that's
tough
right.
balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a tough balance. But I always love being in the East because there is still an energy, an
Yeah.
ambition. People are
Yeah.
really working hard. They still, yeah, they continue to want to better their lives and are prepared to
Right.
sort of go for it, essentially.
Right.
And sometimes I have to say, in Europe, we feel somewhat flat-footed, and
Yeah.
if we're
Yeah.
not careful, we'll be so busy admiring our beautiful Italian shoes, we will get run over by the steamroller.
Oh my gosh. That's so but you do know the art of conversation, correct? Like, I always find that Europeans are great at, a really, well-balanced, even if it's, opposite points of view, but great discussion.
I think that's right. I think we
Yeah.
probably have, I think that we can see that partly what's just going on geopolitically,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are kind of in the middle, and it's sort
Right.
of our time has been, and in Europe, and I'd say, we're kind of figuring out what's next. Where do we fit
What's
into the
next? Yeah.
world? And
Yep.
kind of all ears because we know we've got to do better. To be
Yeah.
honest,
Interesting. Um Let's switch to a topic that's very hot now and, I think here to stay, and that is synthetic data. Um
do we have to?
It's gone, Tim. Synthetic data's gone. Don't worry about it. I'm
Ah,
just
good.
joking.
That's excellent. That's so good. That is so good. Yeah, I mean, look. I mean, first of all, I'm a believer in synthetic
Yeah.
data. I think that's probably a good starting point. And within the industry, over a long period of time, and when you get to my
Yeah.
age, it's good to look back sometimes just to sort of see how things have
Evolved.
changed.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things, the value of data collection and primary data
Mhm.
has just been declining for decades now,
Mhm.
and we are in a time of genuine abundance of
Mm.
data driven by
Mhm.
digital. And for me, the kind of AI and the role of AI in generating synthetic data is really just the final
Mm.
phase, the coup de grace. It's
Yeah.
it's it's
Yeah.
uh, super valuable within certain confines and
Mhm.
context to support decision making. And I think generally speaking, what I'm hearing from a lot of clients about how they're approaching synthetic, how we're approaching it,
Right.
it tends to be used more around those lower risk
Yeah.
decisions, the more performance, more marketing
Yep.
oriented decisions. So if you're doing a final targeting of a well thought through campaign with your
Yep.
180th variant and you give it a slight twist using synthetic, cool. Who's going to argue with
Mm.
that? Or if you're using it as a heuristic and you're developing some
Mhm.
new concepts and you want to have synthetic group discussions, which you will see, for example, on a WPP Open, I think do that
Right.
quite a bit with their sort of product development, visualization,
Mm.
creative campaigns. So there's no question, I think, as a heuristic, it's cool.
Mhm.
And sort of some initial testing, validation, I
Yeah.
think it's cool. Honestly, I think there is still for those higher risk decisions, the strategic decisions, your
Yeah.
power brands, flagship brands, market entry strategies, new campaigns,
Mhm.
genuine strategy, you are not going to be relying on synthetic. It may
Synthetic.
have a role again in
Yeah.
generating ideas, testing some
Right.
initial ideas, but you will go back, I think, in those situations to proper primary,
Right.
rigorous research and data. And I think ultimately you will want to have more exposure to genuine people, to actually see
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
your customer. I mean, it wasn't that long
Right.
ago where the guidance for a CEO would go walk the floor.
Of course. Yeah.
And actually, I was at Ferrero in Luxembourg,
Yeah.
and I was just talking with somebody there about how Mr. Ferrero many, many years ago went to meet customers in supermarkets.
Right.
And that was just what was done. And you develop a
Yeah.
really good gut feel about who your customer is. And to be fair, again, I think in the world of digital synthetic,
Mm.
there is a risk you just that
Yeah. You
level
lose
of
the human a bit.
you
Yeah.
lose the human, you lose
Yep.
that intuitive feel, that gut
Yep.
feel. And let's face it, we're all moaning about our politicians being disconnected. It's not because they're short of
Yeah.
research. They get research.
Right.
They get
Yeah.
research, but somehow they're not building empathy, I think, with
Right.
their voters. And again, I think it's very easy for that to happen in large
Yeah.
organizations, complex organizations. You become more remote. So
Yeah.
synthetic, 100% here to stay, and arguably it will genuinely shift business models
Mm.
because most kind of data-oriented, primary research oriented agencies, they still
Mm.
get a lot of contribution from data, collecting
Yeah.
data,
Yep.
and that model is just going to be blown up, and
Do
it's
you think the
super
value
disruptive.
there is the value of the synthetics? Because there's a ton of HR platforms, right, where you get quick reads and similar positioning. It's good enough. I don't need this to be pristine data. I don't need this to. I just need to know directionally. Am I moving to the next stage of innovation or the next, concept test or whatever message testing? But is the value then for synthetic to be, always on, right? Like, you don't know, and that really is the value proposition, instead of waiting 2 days, 5 days,
Quick.
always on.
It's the mantra, high quality, good enough
Yeah,
quality, really fast and really cheap. And that
right,
allows you to be fair, I mean, it allows you to do so much more
yeah,
testing of your assets,
right. That's true.
evaluating ideas.
Yeah,
And I think there will ultimately be a certain democratization out of that. I mean, you
yeah,
may well start opening up more research, more
yeah,
evaluation, more kind of insight-oriented stuff to small and medium-sized enterprises, which
mhm,
still it can be quite prohibitively expensive.
yeah,
So I think again, you kind of,
uh,
and you've got to figure out how you make money, but I think it will ultimately expand the markets, expand who
mhm.
uses that.
So funny because even with all that testing that brands do, there's still such a high product failure rate.
Yeah, there is.
Right? And
There
and
is.
and, one might say, "Well, maybe you need to get better data to prevent that failure rate versus good enough data." I don't have the answer for that, but it makes me think about that in terms of, um,
I
the
think that's
type
a
of
hu
data.
I think that's 100% right, and I think, synthetic often is likely to prove better for the Kaizen, the incremental
Yeah,
tailoring, the incremental personalization, the incremental kind of
yes.
innovation, whereas it's still those big ideas,
Yeah,
I think require much better quality research than an effort than has been
right.
perhaps always put in historically. So the role of, for example, cultural evaluation in
Yeah,
and understanding the cultural context of any particular new product launch is really
mm,
important because it's
yeah,
often a cultural rejection
yeah,
that stops a good idea winning,
yeah.
as much
So true.
so I think there's all these kind of factors that historically haven't really been well
Mm,
factored in, through the traditional kind of, volume product test, which as I say, I think they're better for well-known products, variants, et cetera, than
yeah.
really good ideas, big ideas.
Interesting. So I'm curious from your perspective, when you see a future where obviously synthetic data has a use case, do you see um this kind of break in not break, separation of qual and quant research, or do you see that blending? Because now you can do a lot more at scale.
I definitely see a third way, which is the qual at scale,
Yeah.
which has actually got the characteristics of qual, but
Mm,
actually some of the reliability that comes
of
from
quant.
quant. So it's
Yeah.
kind of hybrid. It really is
Yeah.
a combination. And yeah, so I mean, look, I mean, I think that's an interesting sort of path of development. It's,
Mhm.
you know, actually something we as Human8 are
Oh,
leaders on. I mean, we, through our communities, obviously have a lot of
lot of
conversations and
data.
text and visuals and
Mhm.
diaries and
Yeah.
videos and everything. So
Everything.
we do a lot of we do a lot of what you would describe as that kind of quality scale.
Okay.
And I think it can, yeah, I think it can be super insightful. I think
Mhm.
everybody knows the traditional characteristics of
Yeah.
quant are, you know, there have always been, it's very reductionist. It's always been
Yep.
reductionist. That's its nature. And I think there
Right.
are definitely quite a few challenges now around the quality of some of the panels, the willingness of
Mhm.
people to participate
Mhm.
in surveys. I mean, you know, that we know as an industry that
Yeah.
there are concerns around some of that quality. And to be fair, who the hell fills out a 40-minute questionnaire? Which we still, we, not we Humanate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
But
sure we don't do
there
this
are
anywhere, any in the world. But there are still those kind of
there are still some of
questionnaires
those things.
that
Yeah.
go out, and it's having. I mean, it's a real problem. And so there's something called in the UK called the ONS, the Office of National Statistics, and a lot of their statistics are becoming less reliable because response rates have just dropped so much,
It's
even
dropped.
on like
Yeah.
fundamental, really important
Wow.
statistics around like labor reports.
That's interesting.
And I think there's something pretty similar happening with in the US as well.
Mm.
So it's not
Yeah.
uncommon, and it's just so it's just that level of
Yeah. We have to
participation,
change.
willingness.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we've got to change. We've got to do
Yeah.
things differently, and yeah,
Yeah.
synthetics are part of that.
Um, so I know, this is one of my fun questions because if somebody asked me, I'd have a long list, but what keeps you up at night, Tim? What do you worry about when you think about, as it relates to the business or the industry? What do you really focus on?
So I think for me, it's the transitions from
Mhm.
the old world to the new world, because
Mhm.
if you move too fast, you will disconnect from the market and your clients.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you move too slowly, you will disconnect from the
Connect
market
with
and your clients. So there is a
and
real,
employees.
yeah,
Yeah.
and your
Right.
employees. So there's this
Yeah.
kind of real Goldilocks of, we
Mm.
know that timing is absolutely important to being
Right.
successful. I mean, again, you go back to all the kind of first wave internet companies that came through.
Mhm.
Not many of them are, I mean, maybe none of
That's
them are
true.
around. I mean, hardly any of
Yeah.
them are around. You get it wrong because you can be
Right.
too soon. So that definitely concerns me. And I think,
Mm.
you know, obviously you try and do softly, softly, but some things you've got to push
Mm.
hard on and invest in, which means you need you need a return on. So that definitely is something that, you know, is on my mind right
Mm.
now. Get that timing right. And I think related to that is the pressure on leadership teams through these
Mhm.
transitions is
Yeah.
enormous. It's
Yes.
absolutely enormous. I mean, the human toll, and I know everybody thinks the CEOs and the leadership teams are idiots. They are working, I can guarantee, really, really hard
Really
to
hard. Yeah.
balance all these complex trade-offs. It's stressful,
Mhm.
it's challenging for absolutely everybody. So
Mhm.
making sure we're pacing the market right, and actually as the CEO, as the leader, that
Right.
we're pacing the leadership team
Yes.
right, and therefore all of the staff right as well,
Yeah.
so that you don't end up with these really hard disconnects.
Yeah.
And also, again, this is all people, right? But I mean,
Sure.
there's stakeholders as well. So, you know, we've got
Right.
a private equity investor
Yep.
we've got to take them on the journey. We've got
Mhm.
lenders and lending. We've got to take
Right.
them on the journey, and
Yeah.
everyone's looking at the business model, what's going on in the market. So all those things have put a lot of pressure and stress, uh, I think, into the system. So yeah, there's certainly nothing short to keep me up over overnight. But those are just a few of the really
You have
important things.
them.
But they're kind of people.
Yeah.
They're mainly people oriented. They're
People
mainly
related.
people related.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also, I think it's just so difficult in terms of, you know, you can see some in the industry, some companies are truly feeling the impact of the economic uncertainty, the geopolitical uncertainty. And so the financials are getting squeezed, but yet you still want to train employees so they
100%,
don't become
100%.
obsolete with their skills. And it's this fine balancing act to be able to prioritize how you get that done.
Yeah, totally right. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of test and learn.
Yes.
You absolutely are not going to get everything right first
Right.
time, and these things do take a long time to
You do.
work through as well. I mean, AI, I think it's most economists would call it a kind of it's a kind of general kind of
Yeah.
breakthrough that has lots of
Mhm.
applications across the entire economy and every function.
Yeah.
It's going to impact your HR, it's going to impact
Mhm.
your finance, blah 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 blah.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's not even just about a kind of rewiring of a research methodology or
Of the data and right,
analytic
exactly.
or
It's
capture.
life.
It's like its life
Exactly.
is being
Yeah.
literally rewired,
Totally agree.
and
Yeah.
that's tough. And I
Yeah.
actually I was reading the book. There's a guy called Tim Harford who's a journalist. He does a lot of data journalism, and I was reading something by him, and he was describing the transition from steam to electricity,
Mm.
and how long it took. I mean, that took 50 years, even though
That's
it
a
was absolutely obvious that electricity was
yeah.
gonna win out, and it was just
Right.
because it's the systems. I mean, people when they had steam things, they had holes, it's holes in
Right.
factory ceilings, the steam to
Yeah.
go up. They had to like change the architecture, the people, the systems, the
That's
processes.
interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely everything gets rewired,
Right.
and ultimately that is what AI is going to do to
That's good.
us.
Exactly right. Yep.
And it's big, but it's not gonna happen tomorrow.
Right. It's not gonna happen tomorrow, but it won't take 50 years. It'll
It won't
right?
take 50 years. No, it won't take 50. It will happen very, very slow. I think it will happen very, very slowly and then very, very quickly. That's
Boom.
that's all I know.
Exactly. Yeah. Tim, thank you so much for joining me today. I absolutely enjoyed our conversation,
Pleasure.
and I wish you the best of luck and look forward to keeping in touch.
Thank you very much. Been a good conversation. Enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.